get things right, make sure things are going well. Uh, and yeah, I mean, the adoption of the tech, I think, is going to happen in various places at various times. For example, on the enterprise side, yeah, for sure. Like, we were talking to some people who are building, um, who are wanting to do like tracking for basically an enterprise digital logging use case in a very specific industry. And so we would we would issue those people some work phones, some like devices where they could use on the job to log certain pieces of information, and that could go on the blockchain. You see some like enterprise adoption in a very specific industry that way, or like, shipping or supply chain, whatever, those little devices you use to scan packages, those could have a distributed ledger kind of integration. Um, and then the mainstream stuff is going to be very interesting, because I think what has to happen for the mainstream stuff to take off is that there's got to be some type of architectural shift between Web 2 and Web 3. And that has to be orchestrated, and there has to be pressure and demand, and it's got to be buy-in from people who make very specific things, people who make smartphones, web browsers, laptop and desktop computers, Wi-Fi routers, things like that. Those people are going to have to shift and invest in what it means to be, Web3 products. And what I mean by that is, right now on your phones, you have to log into all of your apps, and you have like lots of different accounts, and all your data lives in these silos and everything. And if we changed the way our phones and computers and like Wi-Fi routers worked, we could make it so that all of the apps would like log into you, and then you could move all your data across all your apps. And I think that's going to be a huge moment, because if those products prove to be, or I guess I could say when the first one of those products proved to be the most commercially viable, to actually people want to buy it because they think it's really cool. All their data is like secure and private, and they can like only change their address once, and then all the apps on this device or in this little system would update with their new address without having to enter it 20 times. Or people who, like, I don't know, change your name or change your email or anything like that. Same deal. Get rid of all the passwords, and like that Web3 vision, I think, is going to come out of the enterprise foundational standardization process that happens when we build like those specific niche applications. We'll reuse those tools and we'll prove those tools out in those enterprise markets, and then go to someone like, I don't know, the W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, the people who standardize like HTML and like how do you build websites. And we go to them and say, hey guys, we have this really compelling new idea for what browsers should probably add. Here's the reasons why it's useful. Here are the problems with the web that it solves. And then try to get adoption there. And if every web browser starts to implement this standard, or even if like a couple of big ones do, it puts lots of pressure on the rest of the web browsers to support it. And then suddenly the entire web can be monetized with micropayments without the need to rely on a centralized wallet like you have to do currently with, something like Money Button, which, they shut down. So they're the perfect example. We need away from that and allow that to happen at the edges of the network. And so that's the long-term strategy. I mean, like, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I know what I have to do in order to make that happen. It's just a matter of execution and, getting the right contracts signed at the right times, and getting things where they need to be to make sure that everything is going to go smoothly, and make sure we put the right tools in the hands of the right people so they can build stuff. And we start to just kind of create a flywheel effect where developers learn things, they teach new developers, that's valuable. So everybody has an interest in spreading around the same cohesive, interoperable, standardized set of building blocks for making Bitcoin happen. And those building blocks will start to find their ways into more and more places over time. And that is my strategy. And
nice.
I'm sticking to it.
All right. Well, now let's go. Speaking of the right people, let me
Can
go.
I just add one thing on that?
Oh, just one thing quickly. It's interesting you say that because of some of the things you're saying, how you think it's going to come about, we've actually covered in previous spaces. So, for example, we had, I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know his
right.
full name, but his Twitter handle is Team Winner. He works with Mint Blue, and they were talking about how they were
Right.
commoditizing the data of shipping and things like this. And they were really sort of expanding rapidly with that. And also, when you say about like these big standardized companies, for me, I've always seen it as AWS. They've got nearly 2 million users that are using their services. They've got millions of businesses that are using their services. So I think with AWS working so closely with the Terrano group and being very shocked at what they're achieving, I think someone like that could be the tipping point of the scale, so to speak, where uh, they could do something along those lines.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it definitely could. I mean, I want to go over to our another, speaking of another the right man at the right time, our man in Singapore over there with Beard Papa Stefan February is in the house. So why don't we go over to you, buddy, and see you want to say hi to Ty.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, I'm on my bike. I really just wanted to say that I'm on my bike. I'm
Nice.
on my way to my local park run. It's going to be windy, so I'm going to stay off the mic for a little while longer, maybe another 10, 15 minutes until I can actually stand still.
Well, good to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. Sounds like Ty knows him as well. Ty,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
we've had some great conversations on spaces in the past. For context, always a pleasure. And yeah, I to go back to what we were talking about with respect to this adoption strategy. Yeah, Babbage strategy is to really introduce even to those people, like they're doing some great work at Mint Blue on building those business relationships and demonstrating those proofs of concept. And as these new components and capabilities come online and become more standardized, more scalable, and robust, we look forward to working with people like them to align and to integrate and to become more standardized. I've also heard really recently, and I want to give a shout out to them to Gate to Chain. Um, I look forward to some of the things that they're doing, and I think we're gonna have some good conversations there and see where we can get to. And the more we do these things in common and in an interoperable way, the lower the bar is, the better for everybody. The more it's in the interest of enterprise to use this stuff, because the more credibility everybody has when we stick to common interoperable systems, which we're still building, by the way. So it's not like that's something that we're saying you must do. You should do this right now, right? It's like let's build this stuff together. Let's get these components online, and let's lower the bar for developers and for everybody, so that whatever it is you're building, you can build it. Hopefully every year it gets like 10 times easier and 10 times cheaper to build, and that way there can be 10 or 100 times as many people building things every year. It's pretty aggressive growth curve, I guess, but um, whatever. We'll see if it happens.
To, your
That's
your
that's the
friend
idea.
Tones has his hand up, so can we go over to him?
Go ahead, Tom.
Tones.
Sure. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the what do we see the evolution of adoption that Ty did a great job of kind of painting, and I want to bring it kind of to the moment, which is for me, I've been in the space for a long time, and I'm a fairly old guy, so I've seen quite a bit of history. But the remarkable thing about where we find ourselves right now is that the first time in at least 10 years, there's a real chance of pushing something that supports truth and the validity of data deeply down into the tech stack, where I think over the last 10 years, most of the players have done absolutely everything they could to obscure and delay and to confuse the actual benefits of large scale, access to the value of blockchain. The key idea is that we only really need one public blockchain as a source of truth. And it's not a sexy or super high tech thing. It's just something for which there's now a technical solution. and we can either bake it into our infrastructure or balkanize it into a million cryptos that each are controlled by some interest group and not really achieving anywhere near the level of true trust, global trust across all data by all participants and consumers that could be achieved by a single blockchain. So to me, watching what's been happening in American politics with the level of corruption in things like foreign aid, in things like the energy markets with billions and billions of dollars flowing into companies that are beneficially owned by some of the same politicians who engineer those payouts. The fact that that's now being shown and potentially rolled back, and that there's interest perhaps in redesigning how fundamental things, like no one in my lifetime has talked about redoing the Treasury's payment infrastructure, right? It's like, or the IRS's use of networking tools, right? I hear Elon just deployed Starlink within the IRS because the AT&T systems, or whoever it was, their systems are so outdated that their network was in danger of collapsing on them. We have a chance, if we bring these pieces to enough of a commercial readiness state rapidly, to actually get huge changes made in the infrastructure. And to me, that is just so exciting at the moment.
So
thank you all.
It sounds like some of the stuff like behind the scenes that you guys are doing is like you're building or have built like the infrastructure or like the groundwork for this to happen. I mean, help me understand like what you guys are doing here.
We're building the new world order.
Yeah. You're Tones, did you want to respond?
It's I've said it just a second ago, but it's not really super sexy stuff, right? It's like I'm the plumber for Babbage, right? I'm the guy who tries to keep the power on, the water flowing, and meet the demands when people need something from the infrastructure. It's not anywhere near as sexy as working for SpaceX and sending rockets to outer space, but it offers something profound to the world. It offers us truth baked into the internet, and we have a chance of either achieving that, I think we have a window, and if we fail to seize the window, we're forever going to have a network that can ultimately support corruption by politicians and the economic wealthy, that those with power will be able to corrupt every system that we have at our disposal. If we bake this in, then they'll still try, but at a certain level, truth will be immutable, and that will constrain the level of corruption and make the world a better place.
Nice.
That's kind of that's been my vision for why I'm here and why I'm working on it.
That's beautiful, Tones. Thank you. I want to go over to Cam, Doge Prophet, with his hand up.
Yeah, I think Tones and Babbage, I think it's your destiny to work with Doge, because I put in the nest the tweet about Bitcoin being hijacked. It was from a Tucker Carlson interview with Roger Ver. And Tucker says Roger Ver is facing life in prison for revealing how the US government works secretly to subvert cryptocurrency and prevent economic freedom. More people should hear this story. And then Elon Musk replied with double exclamation marks, like indicating that he's aware that this has happened. So yeah, Babbage, I think you're right. You guys are building the new world order, but not in the way that's envisioned as like some kind of imposed authoritarian thing. It's the decentralized,
the good new world order.
Yeah, exactly.
I would
So I think it's
also
going to
guess
happen.
Elon probably knows as well because he was one of the first adopters of Bitcoin with Tesla. He accepted Bitcoin there, and then they obviously had to pull that because of the fees and issues they had with that. So if you've got a multi-billion-dollar company and you're accepting Bitcoin, you know everything about it. You've studied it fully. You've read the white paper. So yeah.
So you think he figured out why it stopped working when he was trying to take payments in Bitcoin? He's like, why?
Of course. Of course, I mean, I'm not Elon Musk, and I would look into it if I found this revolutionary currency that was, decentralized, peer-to-peer cash, cheaper than Visa and Mastercard, greater efficiency for my business, and I'm screaming about it, and I'm taking that bold leap to actually accept it for my business. You have to know everything about it. You can't not. You'd be a fool not to know everything about it. And then obviously, if you're realizing, well, hang on, this thing, like the epiphany a lot of us have come to, this thing that used to be instant, virtually feeless, and now I'm being charged $5, $6, and it's taking 2, 3 days to transfer, you're going to be like, well, why the hell is this happening? What's going on? And you're going to come to the conclusion of, well, they should increase the blocks. And then you're going to go, well, is there any others that have increased the blocks? It very much would be, I think it's naive to think that it's naive to think that we have the secret source and these tech giants don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to get in Elon's head, but my own personal sense of where he's at in terms of Bitcoin is that it's like barely on his radar, right? The fact that he supported Doge to me was just he was laughing at the entire space, right?
Right.
He looked at Bitcoin, found it kind of didn't work, and then found this dog coin that was more fun, and by piling on there, he could aggravate the people on social media, which I think he just did for kicks. The fact that it's gone the distance and now we have a Department of Governmental Efficiency is just so ironic. It's cute, but I think Elon continually says that he spends his time working on things primarily because they improve, humanity. He aims for a high purpose in his activities, and I think his sense of crypto and Bitcoin, he doesn't see the high purpose, right? It's like if we could communicate to him that the high purpose is there, it's about building truth into the internet. Maybe that would get him to align more strongly with, what at least I'm interested in doing. But
Do,
it's a communication gap, and he's a very busy guy.
Do you not think, with his close ties to Trump now, and obviously all the new crypto openness that's happened, do you not think he's now very much aware of what's happening, or do you think there's a separation of information there?
I think for the best, even for Elon, I think mostly when you say crypto, you're talking about moving money around. The fact that it really needs to be seen as down at the very base layer of the internet, where, not every packet, but certainly all the packets that care can choose to have a permanent record such that their content can be proven, that it happened at a particular time and can't be changed, right? That raw capability is transformative in terms of, our lives at a macro level. The way my elevator pitch to people who ask me why I care about Bitcoin is that, I want my grandchildren to grow up where they just trust that everything that ever mattered to them can be retrieved from the network. The way today we expect to connect any service in real time, anywhere on the planet, any person, anything, but there's no record that's reliable of those events, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the change. It's like add Bitcoin to the network, and suddenly, if it mattered, if it was, Sure, if it was money moving around, that's recorded, but also everything else. If you got, a shot at your doctor's office, if a court proceeding gets filed, if anything that matters to your life, even if your kindergarten, reports progress for your children, that gets recorded and can always be
But
retrieved and
privately.
never falsified.
Yeah,
Right.
It's funny because I actually said that I think in the future we probably won't have BC and AD, before Christ and after death. I think that we'll have BC and AC, before chain and after chain. And people are going to say, well, is that BC or AC? Oh, it's BC. Oh, we're not going to listen to that information. That was when media puppets and politicians were changing the narrative so that it suited their agendas. And then we'll have this AC. It's like, oh, well, it's on chain. So yeah, we know that's fact.
And
So yeah,
Tones,
interesting you say that.
yeah, well said. And also the liberation of having something that's going to keep track of things is unimaginable. That the freedom and the liberation that actually brings. See, that's the one thing that we don't have, is true record of our past. And because we don't have a true record of our past, we don't know our potential. So we're not 100% sure about what actually happened, or where we actually come from 100%. Because so by preserving all that, it will help to increase the human potential so much faster, and we can continue to grow as opposed to being stifled every century or so, whenever the cycle ends. So yeah, it's a huge liberating moment if we can do this, Tones. So thank you for that.
It's going to be easier to reach people like Elon and people like David Sachs and the people who have impact, the people who are decision makers and who have influence, even, right? Because we want to reach Elon, yeah, because we want him to accept BSV micropayments on Starlink for every packet, so that you just have pay-per-use, and that'd be really cool as a distributed architecture for just information transmittal across that network. But I just think it's going to be like 3 times easier in a few weeks after the Texas Hackathon, because then we're going to have so many more tools and use cases, and the more examples, rather than just saying, here is what is possible, in theory one could monetize XYZ, we can actually start to say, go check out the proof of concept. It's open source, anybody can use it, and here it is right here, and that kind of thing, I think, is what's going to be that's what's going to give us the credibility to talk to these people with any degree of weight.
Dude,
if
proof of
that's what they
concept,
want
you
to.
gotta have customers and a proof of concept. You're 100%
Yeah.
right, dude. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what can
And we're
people
getting
get?
there.
Yeah, what can people look forward to? Okay, looks like we got Steph in February up now. So go ahead.
Yo, good morning. Hi there. Yeah, so now that I finally managed to stand still with a cup of coffee in my hand, maybe I can say something. Actually, I wanted to maybe just have you catch me up on the status of Babbage. I'm sure other people also, or the Babbage, the state of the hackathon. Other people here might have joined late, maybe also just need a quick update. Ty?
Yeah, I mean, the BSV Hackathon is going to be a great event in Austin, Texas. It's going to be an in-person only event on April 5th and 6th. So we're kind of going to get together on the 5th and form teams and kick off with a couple of talks about how this stuff works and what we think would be really cool to build with it. Then you'll be able to kind of write some code and get some proof of concepts working. We'll have some mentors there to help solve any issues. I'll be there. A few other people will be there. I think Dagon's going to be there, and yeah, we're gonna help people understand this stuff and build some proofs of concept for some killer apps that use the new stack. We're in the process of releasing the new stack right now, so coming days and week, we're going to be releasing new tools and documentation and demos and live streams and all of that kind of good stuff, hopefully. Yeah, that way everybody has what they need ahead of time, so they have the time necessary to learn this stuff and get acquainted before the event. Yeah, devs, show up if you want to build fun things. If you can't afford it because you're broke or you want to have a plane ticket to get there, reach out to us through the quiz and show us that you've read the docs and links we already have up on the website, checked out some of that stuff, ask informed questions, and we will consider that as a good demonstration that we should maybe consider bringing you to the event. It's going to be the first of many events, hopefully. And yeah, so again, 4 pillars. Identity. So how can people know who they're talking to using the certificate system that we have built and put into the base layers of communicating to other people on the network. Wallet, which is your BSV blockchain wallet that can hold your coins, your assets, tokens, things like that. And then pillar number 3 is overlays. So like tracking smart contracts and assets across the network and synchronizing, coordinating that state within your application in a distributed manner. And then finally, fourth pillar is micropayments. So we've got things like directly monetizing pay-per-use web APIs. Somebody could build like an AI image generator that instead of having you enter a credit card and have an API key and everything, you just pay directly a few Satoshis for a request, and then you can monetize it. And combining those 4 things is the real power. But really, the main requirement is just understand our tech and use one of the main components, and you're eligible for the first place prize of $30,000. So we've got a couple of judges on the site. I'm going to be a judge, Dagan, and then we've got one other person. Apologize. I think his name is Rob Bennett. He's going to be a judge. He sent his bio and everything. Yeah, so looking forward to it. If you're non-technical, you can reach out to us, and we'll maybe give you some money if you want to do a pizza night for some people, talk about the event, get some developers to sign up, and hand out some flyers at various universities and wherever you can reach devs who like a really big challenge and who want to use a completely new stack, road test it for the first time, and help us make it the absolute best in the world, so that we can build this stuff. And it's all open source. Everything that gets produced out of this hackathon is going to be open source. We're going to publish all the source code for every submission as a good proof of concept or example to get started. That way, we can start to grow an ecosystem of developers who have good examples to start from. But you're obviously free to take your prize money and continue developing your code however you'd like. So is anybody, because OpenBSV license just means use the BSV chain, and then your code can be either proprietary or open or whatever you want to do. That's the idea. So pretty excited about it.
I've just got a question for you. Everything you've said is amazing. You're creating these tools for other people to use these tools to go on and build things. I'm just wondering, how does Babbage actually make money for itself to sort of continue this? Is it self-funded, or is this something that you can continue for the next 20, 30, 40 years, or how do you guys generate your revenue to continue doing what you're doing and offering people flights and stuff like that?
Yeah, great question. So in the short term, we have partnered with BSV Association to make sure that these components get released and make sure that they are maintained well. And we're going to be helping to maintain the stack and make sure that it's aligned with the principles that we've talked about here in this space and in others like it, making sure that it's available for use globally and without without any encumbrances on that. We think the BSV blockchain is going to be the single public global ledger for the entire world's transactions, and we're wanting to make it that way. And then in the medium to long term, we got two things. One is we think Red Hat was a great example back in the day of a consulting company. Maybe they went a little bit proprietary on us at the end there recently, a couple years ago or something. But for like a long time, what they were doing is they were basically just they had open source software like we do, but then they were being consultants, right? They were helping businesses with building their things, and so we offer consulting services. If you want to build an app that uses the BSV stack, if you want us to put on a training for your engineering team, if you're a large enterprise, if you are a government that wants a land registry or a tax filing system or any other thing built, like, we are open for business and we will help you build that in the best and most scalable way. And we think we're well positioned to do that as the foremost experts in this technology, given that we created it. So by offering our consulting services and scaling out technical teams, our own team as well as other teams, we think I think that I can personally make enough money to be happy in my life for as long as I live. And if micropayments take off, we also are going to run some overlays for particular people who want to pay for our hosting services in micropayments, right, pay for use. And as those systems scale up, as more people use them, we might be able to make a little bit of a profit from operating that infrastructure in an efficient manner, in a competitive manner, at competitive prices to other providers of the same interoperable open infrastructure, so that those use cases will stay online for a long time. And if I'm lucky, then maybe that can create enough revenue to also pay for, I don't know, like my employees to have health insurance and have a good amount of dividends paid out to the shareholders of our company. And that's the strategy as of early 2025. Hopefully it works. We'll see. I don't know. But right now, we're here to make sure that the infrastructure is stable, well-maintained, efficient, aligned, working properly, and we'll get as many use cases built, demonstrations, adoption. We'll work with government standards organizations to standardize it and put it into phones and computers, do all of that. But hopefully we have enough money to do that. I mean, I got 20 phones, so I can do an initial test run of building our own Bitcoin Metanet phone that has micropayments and other capabilities built into the operating system. And maybe we could even sell those phones, and like we could sell Bitcoin phones, Bitcoin computers, Bitcoin routers for the internet, like core routers, but also like transaction processing hardware, and like not the ASICs, but the actual like I've always wanted to build like an ASIC that could evaluate Bitcoin script using like hardware. Be a fun like project. I think we got some as long as we stay creative and as long as we stay aligned and do things that people enjoy, and don't make people so angry that they run after us with pitchforks, then we'll hopefully be okay.
What is the benefit of
the
a Bitcoin phone or a Bitcoin computer? Like what is the
yeah?
What is that?
Well, I mean, so I have this petition on ownYourIdentity.org that basically says Apple and Google need to open up their Web 2 phones and allow people to build apps where your apps can log into you, so that you don't have to log into all your apps with 20 passwords and a bunch of data silos anymore. And we are going to need some serious changes on the iOS and Android platforms with Google Play restrictions and Apple App Store restrictions. Maybe not so much on Google, but on the iPhone specifically, which a lot of people have, by the way, And so by building a phone that has a custom operating system that can, maybe there's like a micropayment-based Wi-Fi standard in the future. So you could connect to micropayment-based Wi-Fi networks and pay per use, even just, like wherever you are. People who have those could make money, or micropayment cell phone service. But you need this in the core of the operating system. You need to build blockchain technology into the core of your product, and make sure that it can manage the user's data across all the apps, make sure that no app can reach across the boundary without user permission and just snag all of your data and put it into data silo. We need to have phones that allow people to be in control of their information and don't listen to you. And you know, I don't know, some people believe that their phones spy on them. I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. The Stingray was a really bad thing because it was a device that could be used to track the location of a cell phone. Hopefully we can build more secure systems than that into the core of the Bitcoin and Metanet phones in the future. And you know, if these people come along and help us and want to have a conversation, and they go on a meeting with me and they say, Ty, I want to integrate Bitcoin into my product, like, you know, Microsoft, Apple, Google, even like big apps that have lots of moats and network effect from the users, right? Like, we can talk about it and see what it would look like. And maybe it's a long-term strategy, maybe it's a short-term strategy, but I'm open to talking with anyone about that. But if they don't let us have these capabilities on